Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Systematic Factory. We are going to be doing some more work here in the Oceania cluster today. I have a lot of projects I want to get done today, so we're going to get started right away. First of all, I got to turn this off. It's still pumping out liquid even though we don't want it to. That's a bad habit, leaving those running. Our first goal is getting the excess hydrogen that's building up in here used to do some power for our base. And so the first thing to do with that is we need to put in an atmos sensor here and connect that up to this pump. What this is going to do is we'll make it so this pump only comes on when there's a buildup of pressure in this room. And the reason we want to do that is we want to make sure we retain some gas in here because we need it to absorb the heat from our power generation systems, especially because the power generation systems are made out of cobalt, because I don't have gold and steel technology yet, and so they're prone to overheat much more than they would be if I had some better tech. That's also why I left all these liquid locks in place, so I can get in here and replace all the systems in here with better technology once we get access to it. So the next thing we want to do is connect up this pump to a filter, and I had disconnected that filter because I thought I was done with it, and I'm not quite there yet. So we're going to bring this over. Oop, I'm on the wrong thing. Ventilation, insulated gas pipe. We're going to bring this over like this, and now we're going to bring in some gas bridges and rebuild this filter system. Fortunately, all the automation stuff is still there, so I just need to reconnect all my piping. And then we need to take a bridge to bridge our gas on. Overshot by one, like I always do. This one can get reconnected, and then this one will come down here and go this way. So this will filter out hydrogen, and any gases that are still stuck in here will get pulled out. Once we get this room saturated with just hydrogen like it's supposed to be, we'll remove the filter for real and just have this pump straight in. But what we're going to do is set up 2 smart batteries so that we can do some automation, and then we're going to do a hydrogen generator, and then these get connected all across here with some power, and our automation wires. One battery goes to the hydrogen generator, one goes to the manual generators. And now we want to bring down power from here to the next level, where we're going to build a floor. And on this floor, we're going to bring in some power transformers. I'm just using regular power transformers for now, but I'm leaving space to change them out to large power transformers once I start using conductive wire. Right now I don't have the refined metal to do that. I just want to get some power going. So then we'll get this all dug out. So once we get all of that built, we will have some rudimentary power. I'm going to bring a power wire down from here and connect it to our existing base, and we can remove this manual generator once we have it all running. So the way this is going to work is I will set a higher priority on the hydrogen generator, and then the manual generators will be set up as backup so that when we have hydrogen, we can burn it off. It'll power the little bit of power needs we have. And when we don't, we will have a manual generator that kicks on at high priority, so duplicates run up here to run on the treadmills and power the base. Alright, I did some last minute changes. I added in a gas reservoir here to backstock some hydrogen when the hydrogen generator shut down. My thought there was, even though I have hydrogen storage in here, this needs to be pumped out, and that means if we can fill this up while we are not using power, then we can have some backup power when we need it to kick on. It'll have hydrogen that can just flow in, and it'll send power out where it needs to go. Now the priorities we need to set up here, we're going to set this at 90 at the high threshold, and this at 10, and then the second one we're going to set at 90 and 50. What that means is when the power grid gets below 50, hope I have those backwards. 50 should be on the hydrogen side, and 10 on the manual generator side. So the idea is power goes up to 90%, and then everything shuts down. As it discharges and gets down to 50%, it'll kick on the hydrogen generator. If there's not enough hydrogen to keep it up, and the power then drains down to 10%, then we'll fire up the manual generators, which will allow us to have power in the event we don't have any fuel. But for most times, we're going to have plenty of hydrogen because we don't have a lot of power needs at the moment, and so this will keep our base powered. So we have this connected down here, and I've removed the generator here. I'm going to take this battery out. I don't mind losing that little bit of power. It's no problem. Let's pull in our next blueprint. I don't like either of the stress reactions on these, so since I have a pretty decent amount of duplicates, I'm just going to go with the snazzy suit. So now our power grid right now is using a potential of 725 watts. I left space so that we can expand out and we can get more power so that we can have different systems that we add on, but we don't have a huge amount of power generation yet, so I don't want to go too crazy, but we have the potential there. I'm going to remove these oxygen diffusers too. They can get put away. We're done with them for now. And so now this is going to keep our power needs going for the foreseeable future. So the next really pressing concern we need to deal with is getting some proper gas flow in our base. I'm going to do some airflow vents queued up right underneath these oxygen vents. I'm just going to put a couple on each end here so that we can get gases flowing down through here. We have gas flow kind of in here. Let's do another couple there. But the big problem we have with our gases isn't with gas flow, it's that we have gas building up from down here. And so I'm going to address a couple of things here really quick. When you're rushing to get other things finished, you miss things that are important. These bleach stones that are sitting out are emitting chlorine gas. And so if we sweep them up and we put them into our storage, they'll be underwater and they won't be able to emit chlorine. All this chlorine that is built up is from that. The carbon dioxide is just natural buildup from our base. What we need to do is get down here and do some work to get those gases built up. So I'm going to first install a carbon skimmer to start skimming this carbon dioxide. So I'll get that built and then I will show it to you once we have it in place. Carbon skimmer is now up and running. It's a pretty simple device. We just have a carbon skimmer takes the carbon dioxide in the air and then it uses regular water and then it produces polluted water. So we get 1,000 grams, so 1 kilogram of water per second and 300 grams of carbon dioxide per second, and then we get 1,000 grams of polluted water and a little bit of heat. So we just took some water off of our main line to go in here, and then we ran it into the carbon skimmer, and then the polluted water that came out of it, we sent back into a sieve, which is being cleaned and going back into the carbon skimmer to cycle again. And this will sit here and just eat up carbon. Basically, power goes in, carbon goes in, heat comes out. So all this carbon dioxide that's down here is slowly getting eaten, making space for the chlorine to settle, which means that this chlorine cloud that is choking our base out is going to quickly dissipate and make it so we can actually function. It's a little difficult right now because as our critter ranchers are trying to come down here and do their work, they have to hold their breath, and all the other tasks are taking longer because of that as well. So the other thing I'm working on is just increasing our airflow in these areas so that this stuff can get to the carbon skimmer down here. I put it in this bottom left corner because that's kind of where the carbon settles. It'll naturally go down and then over to the left. So this means in the future, as it comes down, it'll get eaten up right away. The next thing I need to work on is a way to handle the chlorine as it settles down, because we still have a lot of it around the base. And so what we're going to do for that is we're going to put a gas pump in down here, and we're going to do another filter next to it. I'm actually going to leave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. And then we're going to do sensor for carbon, sensor for chlorine, and then we'll do another sensor that says not chlorine, so anything else that comes through will get sent out. There shouldn't be much else that gets down here, but eventually oxygen will get down here, and we'll be able to know when that happens. We'll connect this filter up like this. We'll put a gas shutoff on each of these spots. We'll connect it with some automation. And then this one will be the NOT gate. We're also going to need to have a gas bridge that bridges this on from our pump. There we go. And so that this is the carbon. First thing I want to do with this, eventually this is just going to go right up here. But before we do that, I want to build a temporary line that goes all the way up here and to here, because I want to drop off some of this carbon dioxide into our food storage room. The chlorine would do just fine. It also makes it a sterile atmosphere, but I kind of just want to build this room pretty condensed with carbon, because I would like to have some sterile atmosphere for our food. There we go. We'll put in a gas vent here. We're going to clip this. And then the next thing we need to do is handle the chlorine. And so I'm going to put in some storage here where we'll put a gas reservoir. I guess I don't need to go all that way. I was thinking I could fit 2, but I can't because of that oil well there. That'll be fine. 1 storage of chlorine will be fine for now. Hopefully that's enough to store all that we have around. If not, we will deal with that afterwards. So to get the chlorine to that, we're going to do a bridge from here. This filter will go here, put the chlorine up. And then finally we have the everything else that's left. We're just going to run a line that comes out here. I'm going to go up like this for a second. And we'll just bring it up to, let's say here, and vent it back out, because this will be like any oxygen that makes it in just in little bits. And then once we get it to the point where we're clearing everything out, we can set up some automation to shut this off when we no longer have a lot of carbon or chlorine, and probably change some things around. But for now, once this gets set up, we'll be able to get chlorine removed from here and making even more space for our oxygen. We have plenty of oxygen being produced, so if we can make space for it to flow down, then it will come out and it will fill our base. Okay, it took some effort, but we got this built. It's a little difficult to build things right now down here because there is not a lot of oxygen, so every time the duplicates come down here, they need to hold their breath. But we got our pump running. The filter here, right now it's blocked. Oh, we need to get this gas vent. Let's set that to high priority. So it's pulling off the carbon dioxide and sending it up there first. We're just going to do that for a few minutes until we get that room saturated with carbon dioxide. And then any chlorine is getting pumped into here. Our carbon skimmer is still running. So if we can get this chlorine gas out of the way, we'll start getting rid of more carbon, and we'll have more gas flow down here. I queued up some airflow tiles to allow some more gases to settle more easily. And that will allow it to get to this system and allow the oxygen to get pushed in. You can see I also cleared up some of the just space inside the base. So you can see the oxygen is starting to spread out a little more. Actually want to put these airflow tiles farther out so that they're under that vent. I could move the vent to the side. Might do that just for uniformity. But so we have plenty of oxygen up in the base. We just need to get these other gases out of the way so that it can saturate all the way down here to our food production areas, because that's where we really need the oxygen right now, because that's where we're taking priority. I have a hatch that got up here. I'm just going to turn him into meat. I don't need him down here. We're working on switching over to stone hatches. And all the while we're doing all this, I'm still manually switching over this to sweep only, opening this and wrangling the critters out of here as they hatch. So hopefully soon we'll be getting into automating that, but getting these gases sorted out is a higher priority at the moment. So as soon as he grabs a critter, then I can switch this back. Actually have somebody come and pick him up now that he got wrangled. The next project that I'm going to work on after we get this done, while we are waiting for what we need to get the automation going, is clearing this section out. This abyssalite layer makes a nice natural pocket. I'm going to use this to store some mixed fluids and just collect everything down into here from this area, and then we'll worry about cleaning it up later. So I'm actually going to queue up some dig tasks here. Now, I built a retaining wall here so that we don't have it flowing down into our clean water system. We'll have to get rid of this salt water that already made it down there at some point, but I don't want any more going down there and mixing in with our water that goes up for our oxygen. And so that is where we're working with that. I'm going to clear this whole thing out, and then we'll have a place to put all of our dirty water. We've now gotten pretty good airflow, and we have gotten a good amount of the carbon dioxide and chlorine handled. We actually had to put in a second tank for the chlorine. You can see now this is mostly pulling out polluted oxygen. What's restricting our airflow problems now is that we have a mix of polluted oxygen and oxygen. And so polluted oxygen is fine, duplicants can breathe it, but the main issue with it is that because it's a different gas than oxygen, when you have oxygen up here and polluted oxygen down here, it's not going to flow properly. It has to push the polluted oxygen out of the way. And since they both have the same density, they don't really want to do that. So what I did is I installed an entire row of deodorizers all the way through the base. So slowly all of the polluted oxygen is being converted to oxygen, and it's going to help with the airflow so everything gets down. You can see we're already getting a good amount of oxygen down in this area. It also, just cleans the polluted oxygen, so we have that oxygen for our duplicants to breathe. But everything is slowly working its way out. We have some gases that are trying to get up, some gases that are trying to get down. This system will actually probably get shut down soon. The carbon skimmer will leave on, and that'll allow carbon to settle in an area below here, which is fine. I'm slowly digging up this area across here to make our a section to just dump all of our water into. We'll work on cleaning it up later. I think I might do the same on this side with the polluted oxygen. I did find another cool steam vent down there, which is pretty cool. Nice to have a couple of them close to the base. But then we can start pulling all this polluted water down to here. So I might work on that in a little bit. But for now, what I want to do is I want to just check in on where we're at, because we're getting close to cycle 70, which means that we're getting to crunch time for finishing up the carnivore achievement. So let's check out our achievements here. Okay, so we're already at 150,448 calories consumed in carnivore. We should be on track, especially now that we are quickly getting to the point where we have more meat being a lot more meat being produced than we did. So like right now we're sitting on 2,000 calories of barbecue. We have some seafood to cook. these critters will turn into meat once they get older, but we need to keep them coming in, and we need to start working on the automation for that system so that we can do a little less hands-on approach to it. Because every couple of cycles having to go through here and pull these hatches out is getting tedious. Okay, so that's going to fill this up. I'm going to switch this room so it's no longer hatches and hatchlings. And we're going to put stone hatches and stone hatchlings in, which means our rancher should take all of these hatches and put them into here, and they'll get turned into meat. Our fish are doing really well. We have tons of them, and the population is producing a lot of food for us. That's probably where most of the meat calories we have gotten for the carnivore achievement have come from. We've gotten a bunch from here, and we've gotten some from getting rid of other critters as we discovered them down here that we're not dealing with, like these plug slugs. But mostly it is those. So you can see now that hatch is an adult, he automatically turns himself into meat for us. So that's what we want to see. So we're going to keep on that. I want to check on our skills for our mechatronic engineers. So Ren is the closest one to it. He can actually become a mechatronics engineer now, which is great. Who else was listed there in that? I don't have their helmets exactly where I want them to be. Still almost close to having a second one. So what that means is we can start putting in some automation. So the first automation I want to do is the automation for these hatch eggs so that we can get rid of this system. So to do that, we need to put in an auto sweeper in each of these rooms, and then we need to have a conveyor loader also in each of these rooms. We'll take a rail, run it down here. Eggs will get dropped off here. And then we're going to need power for those systems. The last thing we need is to set up some incubators. Now we're going to leave these unpowered for the time being. These serve the purpose of having a place for our duplicates to pick up the eggs and put them in. And then once they hatch, they'll automatically move them into a ranch. Once we power them, it means we can produce hatches even faster so that we can get more meat out of the system. But since we're low on power until we hit super sustainable, I don't think that'll be necessary, and we can just use it to automate the system. So once we get all of this built, what'll happen is these sweepers will pick up any eggs, they'll put them in here, they'll put them into this conveyor chute here. The eggs will be able to be reached by our dupes, who will keep these incubators stocked with eggs, and then once the eggs hatch inside the incubators, they will grab them and they will move them to the ranches. So this whole system can be removed, and what happens is these eggs sit right here, and when they are hatched, since they're already in this room, it detects that it detects a critter in there. We want to set this to no longer count eggs because it'll turn it on, and they will automatically get turned into meat. And so when those eggs hatch as baby eggs, they will become meat right away. So we don't have to wait for them to become 5 before they can jump down into this pit. They can just automatically get turned into meat, which will be awesome. So this system will start producing even more meat with a lot less duplicate interaction, and that's exactly what we want to see. So basically all we need to do here is set these for stone hatches and set them all the way across. Actually, I'm going to cancel this one for a second because I just realized I need to get these eggs into there. And so what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to put a dispenser here. This one we can deconstruct. This we can turn back to full access. Should see our barbecue inventory go up pretty quickly once we have all this done, because we're going to have a lot of eggs hatching in there that have nowhere to go, and so instead of them running around in this room, they will get turned to meat pretty quickly. Speed this up so we can see this in action. So now we have all these critters that are going to be hopping down in here, quickly getting turned to meat. And so the last step we have is to turn this to critter eggs. We're going to set for hatchling, stone hatchling, and sage hatchling. Set it to sweep only for now. And then we will sweep this spot right here. All those eggs should get put into this dropper, which will drop them into this room. And they will sit there until they hatch. And like I said, the dupes will be able to come along and grab those eggs, even though they're down in the pit, even if the door is closed. So these incubators will always remain filled with stone hatchling eggs, because they will go in there as soon as they are dropped off down here. And so that means the population in these ranches can stay stable. This one will start getting stone hatches as soon as these incubate, which will take about 20 cycles, but we will be able to keep up with the population for sure. What? So this is sweep only, and the stone hatchling eggs are there. Okay, so they're grabbing them. There's just a lot of stuff there for them to sweep, which is no problem. We'll let that go. Once that's all the eggs are in there, we'll get rid of this and we'll put in another incubator, and we will be set. So we did manage to get a lot done today. We got our power grid automation set up. We can actually probably disconnect that filter. No, we still have a couple little blips of gas in there, and this filter isn't costing us anything, so I'm just going to leave it connected. But we have our automated power, we've gotten our gases under control, and as soon as all of this is built, we will have complete automation over our hatch ranch, which means that we'll be producing barbecue a lot more efficiently and in larger numbers. And so that's a really good step towards our final goal. The next episode should be the final push to the cycle 100. But we will see. I hope you enjoyed watching this one, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.